What's the hardest sport to play in the world right now? Welcome to Sport Night. If you enjoy this type of content, then subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on any of our latest and greatest uploads. Number 15. Rodeo, steer wrestling. Year of invention, the 1890s. Inventor, Bill Pickett. Famous players include Tyler Waguespack, Jacob Edler, Ty Erickson, and Tyler Pearson. Did you know steer wrestling is also called bulldogging? Steer wrestling is a rodeo event. In this physically demanding game, a horse-mounted rider chases a steer. Next, they drop from the horse to the steer. They use strength and technique to wrestle a steer to the ground as quickly as possible. Number 14. Lacrosse. Year of invention, 1100 AD. Governing body, World Lacrosse. First Olympics, 1904. Famous players include John Grant Jr., Lyle Thompson, Paul Rabel, Jim Brown, Paul Gate, and Brody Merrill. A report of sports ranked by difficulty shows that lacrosse is the 14th hardest game in the world. A unique component of this game is the cross, which is a long-handled tool with a sharp bend at the top. A cross has a hook to enable ball catching and carrying. Number 13. Rugby. Year of invention, 1823. Governing body, World Rugby. First Olympics, 1900. Famous players include David Campese, Emily Scarrett, Johnny Wilkinson, Portia Woodman, Jonah Lomu, Dan Carter, Magali Harvey, and Michael Jones. Rugby is, without a doubt, a physically demanding sport. A rugby ball is oval-shaped. Two teams of 15 players play with the ball in hand and by kicking the ball. The aim of the game is to ground the ball behind the opponent's try line and into the in-goal area. Number 12. Water polo. Year of invention, 1888. Governing body, World Aquatics. First Olympics, 1900. Famous players include Deso Gyarmati, Peter Rusorin, Denis Varga, Alexander Sapic, and Tony Azevedo. In water polo, two teams of 7 play in water. This competitive team sport involves teams attempting to score goals by throwing the ball into the opposing team's goal. Featuring fast and furious action, it's an exciting game to play and to watch. Number 11. Alpine skiing. Year of invention, the 1850s. Governing body, the International Ski and Snowboard Federation, or FIS. First Olympics, 1936. Famous players include Michaela Schifrin, Bodie Miller, Herman Mayer, Lindsey Vonn, and Benjamin Reich. Alpine skiing is also known as downhill skiing. The game was invented in the Alps Mountains in Central Europe. This game challenges the skier's ability to maneuver over courses marked by closely spaced gates through which both skis must pass. Number 10. Soccer or football. Year of invention, 1863. Governing body, Federación Internacional de Fútbol Asociación, or FIFA. First Olympics, 1900. Famous players include Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, Lionel Messi, Diego Maradona, and Johan Cruyff. Soccer, or football, requires plenty of power, speed, agility, and flexibility. It is arguably the most watched sport in the world in 2023. Two teams of 11 try to move a ball into the opponent's goal. In soccer, the use of hands or arms is prohibited. Number 9. Baseball and softball. Year of invention, 1846. Governing body, the International Baseball Federation. First Olympics, 1904. Famous players include Barry Bonds, Mike Trout, Willie Mays, Pedro Martinez, Miguel Cabrera, and Stan Musial. Baseball is played with a bat, ball, and gloves. In this game, a player from one team throws a small round ball at a player on the other team who hits it with a bat. Two teams of 9 alternate positions as batters and fielders. Number 8. Gymnastics. Year of invention, 1811. Governing body, the International Gymnastics Federation, or FIG. First Olympics, 1896. Famous gymnasts include Nadia Comaneci, Simone Biles, Olga Korbut, and Carly Patterson. Gymnastics involves the performance of systematic exercises. Usually, tools like bars and rings are used. People engage in gymnastics as a competitive sport or as an activity to enhance agility, strength, and coordination. Number 7. Tennis. Year of invention, 1873. Inventor, Major Walter Clopton Wingfield. Governing body, the International Tennis Federation, or ITF. First Olympics, 1896. Famous players include Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Pat Rafter, Serena Williams, and Novak Djokovic. Did you know Serena Williams is ranked among the greatest tennis players of all time? Most people remember how well she played before retirement, and so can you. In tennis, you use a racket and a tennis ball to play against your opponent. The more you fail to return the ball within the prescribed court dimensions, the more points your opponent gets. Number 6. Martial arts. Year of invention, 648 BCE. Governing body, the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation. Famous players include Conor McGregor, Georges St-Pierre, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, and John Jones. Did you know boxing, judo, karate, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu are all types of martial arts? Mixed martial arts are among the world's fastest-growing games in 2023. Athletes compete in a ring or a fenced area. They fight using padded fingerless gloves and other protective gear. Number 5. Wrestling. Governing body, United World Wrestling or UWW. First Olympics, 1896. Famous wrestlers include The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Triple H, and Steve Austin. In wrestling, two competitors force each other to touch the ground with various parts of the body except the feet. Once a player does this, they're required to hold their opponent on the ground for a minimum length of time. The main types of wrestling contests are catch-hold, T-belt and jacket, and loose styles. Number 4. Basketball. Year of invention, 1891. Inventor, James Naismith. Governing body, the International Basketball Federation. First Olympics, 1936. Famous players include Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. Two teams of 5 players each are needed to play basketball. Each team tries to score by tossing the ball through the opponent's basket. Players advance the ball by bouncing it while walking, running, or passing it to a teammate. This game is of American origin. Number 3. American football. Year of invention, 1869. Governing body, the International Federation of American Football. First Olympics, 1904. Gridiron or American football is the most played sport in the United States of America. This physically engaging game is a crossbreed of soccer and English rugby. Unlike soccer, athletes are allowed to touch, throw, and carry the ball with their hands and arms. Number 2. Ice hockey. Year of invention, 1875. Governing body, the International Ice Hockey Federation. First Olympics, 1920. Did you know ice hockey is Canada's national winter sport and the country's most popular game? This difficult sport is played on ice skates on an ice skating rink. Two opposing teams propel the hockey puck into a net guarded by a goaltender. Number 1. Boxing. Year of invention, 1681. Governing body, the International Boxing Association or IBA. First Olympics, 1904. Boxing is arguably the most physically demanding sport in 2023. It's a combat game that involves attacking and defending with fists. Two boxers throw punches at each other in a boxing ring for a predetermined amount of time. And with that, we've reached the end of this video all about what the hardest sport to play in the world right now is. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for content just like it.